gosh,
Morning, Miss Sonia.
Morning, Miss Cheryl. I'm late for work.
I noticed the other day y'all had a big campaign with them police officers, so shutting down them people barbecue, wedding, dance. Man, how y'all expect these people to make money and survive?
Oh, Miss Cheryl, that is far from the truth. The EPA and the Guyana Police Force are actually working together to ensure that persons who conduct certain businesses and activities are authorized. We've tried to allow them to adhere to the noise regulations.
Well, this gotta be a new law. What law is this?
These laws were always in place. It's now that we're getting all these complaints at the agency, we are trying to enforce them. The Environmental Protection Act has been in place since 1996, and it states that persons and businesses must apply for environmental authorization before operating a sound-making device.
Well, girl, I never know this thing is prior to the law.
So if you're keeping a barbecue or an open-air function, like a wedding or a concert, especially in your community, right, and you're playing a music system, you have to apply for a short-term noise permit. And for persons that operate in a business and you got generators and stuff, you have to apply for a long-term permit. And that is applicable to bars and hotspots and clubs also.
Well, now that you explain it, I understand it. It's unfair to the elderly, sick people, and even them little children.
That is correct. According to the World Health Organization, loud noise can cause stress, sleep deprivation, and hearing impairment. And I'm sure you wouldn't want that.
Oh, now I understand. Thank you for explaining it, Miss Sonia.
For more information, you can contact the EPA at 225-5471 or visit our office at Ganji Street, North Sophia, Georgetown.
At the Environmental Protection Agency, we believe that the environment is everybody's business. We can start caring for our planet by becoming more environmentally friendly in our everyday actions. Here's what you can do. Dispose of waste in a garbage bin. Clean our drains, yards, and carpets regularly. Take a reusable shopping bag to the market. Support local butchers and farmers to reduce packaged waste. Plant a kitchen garden, trees, and flowers. Compost your organic waste. Conserve water and electricity. Carry a reusable water bottle. These little acts are good for your health and that of the environment. Remember, healthy people work better and achieve more, and together, small actions make a big difference. For further information on how you can help, please contact the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Ganji Street, Sophia, or telephone us at 225-5467. You can also visit our website, epaguyana.org, or our Facebook and Instagram pages.
We have enjoyed partnering with you this year and hope that the new year brings you peace and goodwill. We began 2021 by highlighting the agency's accomplishments and plans. However, some of those plans were modified, but we were successful in executing our work plan. Ultimately, we were rewarded through the agency's work. As such, we are very thankful for you, the citizens of Guyana, for your encouragement and support to partner with the Environmental Protection Agency to ensure environmental sustainability and good human health. For this final episode of The Environment Matters, let's welcome to the first half of the program 3 environmental enthusiasts who will be sharing information on a new venture, which is a book called The Sprout and the Mystery of the Flood. So for the first time, I'd like to welcome Miss Christine Samwaroo, Miss Affefa Richardson, and Mr. Vamaldad Bissessar, also called Chris, to the show. So welcome, everyone. You look very bright. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today, not only on the book, but also on a lot of the work that you have been doing, under our bracket on today's topic, which is making a difference, rethinking our actions to restore the environment through education, empowerment, and enlightenment. And, reading the book, I do believe that that is exactly what you guys are doing. And it is so reflective in the book. So let's talk about the sprout and the mystery of the flood. So the book, how exactly did you guys come to write about, the mystery of the flood? What was your inspiration on writing and your partnerships? But before we get into that, I'd like to ask each one of you to introduce yourselves to our listeners and viewers. Tell us not only who you are, but a little bit about your background and the organizations that you represent. So I'll start with Christine.
Hi, Ladonna. Thank you so much for having us on The Environment Matters. This means so much to us. I'm Christine Samwaroo, and I'm the founder of the Breadfruit Collective, which is an emerging NGO in Guyana that aims to address gender and environmental justice. And we know those issues are intersectional. So the issues that we're trying to address is vast. And we really hope to center voices of women, girls, at the backdrop of environmental awareness and conservation.
Thank you. And Chris.
All right, so hi, my name is Chris Bissessar, commonly. So my intro wouldn't be as thought out as Christine's. Really good, by the way. But I am a third year environmental studies student currently at university, and I'm also one of the founders of Hearth Through Art, which is I don't want to say upcoming NGO, but that's what we're aiming for. Upcoming NGO that aims to change the perception of thinking about art in Guyana.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. And Affefa.
Thank you so much, Ladonna. So happy to be here with these two amazing team members. So I am Affefa Richardson, and I'm a member of the Guyana Youth and Environment Network, and we are a non-governmental civil society youth-led organization, and we focus on environmental stewardship, youth empowerment, and youth inclusion. So really just educate, inspire, empower, which is our motto, youths across Guyana to take action for the environment.
Okay, great. You guys sound very passionate about the work that you do. And I like to work with people who are passionate about the things that they're involved in. I do believe that your passion gives you drive, and your drive inspires. So with that, let's talk about the inspiration for this book. What was behind it? Who came up with the idea? How exactly did it come to be a table topic? So, Affefa, let's hear from you.
Sure. So the idea for the storybook, The Sprouts and the Mystery of the Flood, it was actually birthed in GYN, and I must say that 3 persons are here today, but we do have 3 other members on the team, and they're from GYN. So they are Nayan Prasad, Madhavi Inderjeet, and Benita Bernard, and they've all contributed so much to the story as well. And the idea actually started with Nayan. So one of the things that we like to do at GYN is to work on environmental awareness and education with children. And with the COVID pandemic, we kind of had to take a step back, not being able to do a lot of school outreaches, a lot of interaction with children. So we were trying to get back into it with the reach children across Guyana. And Nayan had this idea to do a book. I think it started as an activity book, but we were trying to see how best we could make it into something more so that it could be lasting, and it's not something that children would use a one-off time, put away. We wanted them to be able to share it with their friends, with their family, to keep it, go back to it. So when we had our initial meeting, the group as a whole really thought that the storybook route was the best way to go. We got the idea, we latched onto it, we wanted to run with it, and it was so great to be able to collaborate with the Breadfruit Collective and with Chris on this. We're like super happy about it.
Yes, you guys seem to be very excited about it, and I have been reading it to my son, and he loves interactive books, and books that he can relate to and find something to do. As the persons get the opportunity to read it, which we'll definitely tell you how you can get access to it later on in the show, I think they can also relate not only what's happening in their own lives, but what's happening in Guyana throughout. So on that point, the storyline, Christine, could you share with us how did you guys come up with that storyline and your characters?
Yes, thank you for that. And this book was output of many virtual meetings, and so many brainstorming session, I would like to say. And we spent a lot of time with the character development because we wanted to get it right. We wanted to represent the people of Guyana. We wanted children to feel represented. We wanted to be a localized story, because we read a lot of book that comes from North America and so forth, but we really wanted that anyone from the Caribbean can pick up this book and relate to it in some ways. So we have 4 different characters, the children, and we have 2 older adults that are main characters, and they go on a wild adventure. And the main goal of the story is, like young people, they really do have a say in the environment and they do care. And also they do have the ability to influence and impact their community and people who are older than them. So the story also, it was important for us to have gender balance, and it was important for us to showcase the characters, all of them taking on leadership roles and ensuring that they have really unique personalities. And for each of us that worked on the book, we all came from an environmental background. And so I think, without even mentioning it, I think we all saw ourselves in the characters at one point or the next. So it became, at the end of it, we were relating to the characters in a very personal way.
Okay, so that was actually going to be my next question, which I was going to direct to Chris. So is there a story behind the title and a story behind the characters that were developed? I know a lot of writers, when they write, they kind of feed off of persons that are a part of their lives. Not even if it's just like a full character, but a piece of someone, and a piece of someone would be written into a character. So was that the intention with this book, or were there just, new people?
It was quite unintentional, to be honest, because when I joined the team, we were, of course, all of the virtual meetings all of the time. So when I joined in the team, we got into more informal discussions. We were like joking around. I was not being very productive. I was just lagging the work. But regardless, we were having so much fun just creating the storyline of the book, and that's how we came up with the characters. I mean, initially there was a set point, like, Lily will be into plants or something like that. But as the book developed and as we put more input, we did draw from ourselves as inspiration. We did put a little bit of our comedy inside. And yeah, that was the idea behind the characters. It was very much centric around the group members. We also took inspiration from our community members. So, there's always an auntie. There's always an Auntie Sue in everybody's neighborhood. No offense to any Auntie Sues out there. But there's always an Auntie Sue, and she's quite, passionate. And I don't want to give away too much from the book because I do want our viewers to go out and read it. But Auntie Sue, let's just say that she's not the biggest fan of climate change. She doesn't really believe in it. Yeah. So contributing to what Christine said, it's about youth going out, making a difference, impacting older people. We have a say, we can change, we could spark change.
Yes, definitely. And the change always starts with us.
Definitely.
So with us making a change, the production of the book is one way to go. It's going to definitely influence some minds to make changes for themselves. Chris, back to you. So with this book, what was the main message that you hope persons would take away from reading it?
Main message, first of all, don't be like Auntie Sue. Don't wear a pink frock and go outside in the water. Don't do that. Anyway, it's one of the main messages of the book is, as I said, youth could spark a movement. Youth could spark change. And I feel like this book is a good inspiration. We always tell people, you are the future, spark change. But, it's always good to have extra. And another message is that we are also receptive of change. So as older people, we could also, take feedback, take critiques, and, improve ourselves from it.
Most definitely. It's always good when we can find something in life that's relatable. If we can relate to it, we can definitely see not only the impacts that it might have on us and the environment, but we could also find ways in resolving those issues.
Definitely.
And that's one of the things that I've noticed about the book. We, like you mentioned, Grace, we continue to talk a lot, and well, we continue to speak or preach, as some people would say. But I do believe as we continue to do that, our message becomes more forceful and it becomes more impactful. So, on that note, do not give up. Do not give up. All right. So, Christine, the book discusses a connection with health and climate change. Could you tell us a little bit more about that connection and how it is brought out in the book?
Yes, so this book was actually launched on World Environmental Health Day, and that was in partnership with the Ministry of Health. And it was really important for us to showcase in the book the importance and the connection between health and climate change. When we were writing the book, this was also during the time this year when Guyana was experiencing unusual flooding events. So we know that in Guyana, because we are a small country, a small coastal country, we know flooding is one of those events that we're all very, we relate to it, we have lived experiences with it, and we know that because of climate change, these events are going to keep happening. And so we know that when climate change disasters happen, usually people on the front line, they're the ones most affected by it. So within the book, we noticed that because of the flooding that was happening, there was one of the characters got sick. And there's a connection between health and climate change because diseases, there's an increase in diseases when we have flooding events. Also, we know when there is a flooding, livelihood as we know it gets disturbed. So there's a deep connection between climate change and health, and also the things that we depend on to carry out our livelihoods, such as clean air, clean water, healthy food, those are all connected to a healthy environment.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I do like the connection. A lot of times persons, when they hear about the environment, the thing that comes to mind is plants and animals. But the environment also involves us as humans, and we interact with those plants and animals. So it's always good to make sure that you ensure persons understand that balance of the ecosystem at large. So, Affefa, the book was specifically written for children. What exactly do you see as the connection between education, climate change, and the youths? And how do you believe that they can get involved in making a difference, not only in their community or their homes, but in the world at large?
Sure. So one of the big things for GYN is education. As I mentioned before, we like to target youth and children. And a lot of times we hear youths are the future, children are the future, education is the key to success. And we, as the youths of today and the generations after us, we are the ones that are going to inherit our planet. We're the ones that are going to inherit this home. And we need to be able to have a say in terms of what kind of home, what quality of home we will inherit. And the only way we could actively say or advocate for what kind of home, what kind of healthy home that we want is if we are aware of what that should look like, if we're aware of the actions that person should take. We really need to focus on environmental education because you need to build that appreciation for the environment from an early age so that persons grow up with that, knowing the impacts that they could have on the environment, how climate change can affect them and their future. Because if you wait, I think a lot of what has been happening is that persons just go through their normal small childhood growing up, and then you get to university and you really understand what the situation is, and now you're trying to create behavior change among the adults, and it's really difficult. So you really need to start from an early age, and build that appreciation up so that then we could really take action for our planet so that we can still have a home.
Yeah,
in the future.
That's true. I do believe in education from a small age. our world is really built on social and cultural norms.
Yeah.
So persons grow up believing that this is the right thing to do because they're seeing generations doing it. That's not so always. So it is very important and ideal that we indeed start from an early age, not only just bringing awareness, but making sure that we change or tweak those cultural and social norms. So with that being said, Affefa, what is the intended level of production for The Sprout and the Mystery of the Flood? Do you guys have any intentions of introducing this into the school curriculum? Can any parent walk into a bookstore and be able to pick up a copy of the book? Where are we going with The Sprout and the Mystery of the Flood?
So the project, actually, it's done entirely voluntary. As we like to say, it was a labor of love.
Yes.
And we do want every child to have access to it. So it's actually not going to be available in bookstores, not going to be sold. It's going to be available for free. We do not intend to attach a cost to it. It's currently available online on the Breadfruit Collective's website, and we're hoping to be able to print some copies. We're still working through that, so stay tuned on when those details will be out. But yes, GYN, you can follow us at Guyana Youth and Environment Network on Facebook, on Instagram, also at the Breadfruit Collective on Facebook and Instagram. There's also Hearth Through Art on Instagram. So you're definitely bound to see an update from us when we have printed copies available. But it is definitely currently available for free right now on the Breadfruit Collective's website.
Okay, and with regards to an introduction into the school's curriculum?
Sure. So we would really love if we could get into the school curriculum. So one of the things that made us really happy was one of the reviews that we got, one of the initial reviews. Someone commented and they said that there should be reading materials in schools. And that just made us really happy because it's what we're going for. Right now, when we do have copies available, we hope to distribute to schools so that they could be in libraries, children can access them. Really having it to children in schools in one form or another is our goal.
Okay, perfect. So with that, do you see yourselves writing a series of this book? And if so, how do you see your level of production? Would you care to have, persons from the private sector or even the government be influential in publishing or producing copies, not only just for Guyana, but this could also be something that is introduced into the Caribbean, because other countries can definitely relate to issues regarding flooding and environment, climate change, human health. Where do you see the mass production of this book?
So we definitely, one of our intentions was to make it into a series, and we definitely do want to continue on that. We do want to explore other environmental issues in Guyana, looking at biodiversity, maybe natural resources. Just really delve into the environment, and because it's a very simplified form we found, and we could be able to share it with children. So we do want to continue it, and we do hope to continue partnering with government and other agencies, because we did partner with the Ministry of Health, the Environmental Health Unit, and so we do want to continue partnerships in the other books going forward.
Great. So if you're watching or listening to this program and you would like to support this initiative, please do make contact with the Breadfruit Collective or GYEN. They will be very happy to receive your call. Chris,
Yes.
when you get the opportunity to go through this book, you're very impressed with a lot of the illustrations and graphics. So let's talk about that, and let's also talk about feedback. What has the feedback been like? And both positive and negative.
Of course, both positive and negative. I wouldn't lie to y'all. So let's talk about feedback first. Well, I want to say that we've had bad reviews, but we have not had bad reviews. I'm so sorry. Like, if there were any, I would mention it. But it was just an overwhelmingly positive response for the book. It was just like, it's a very new concept, a storybook centered around the environment. And it was so well received. People were, when it was released, I was in the interior doing an internship, and I was awake at 3 a.m. one morning, and I saw a whole bunch of messages. They were like, "Congrats on the book! Good job on launch day and everything." And the group here was buzzing, and it was just like such an incredible response. Very thankful for it. Even me and Affefa, we went to the same secondary school. They like acknowledged us. It was just such an amazing experience to always constantly get good feedback so far on the book. Like we welcome the bad ones too, just letting you know. But the good one is good. So what was the second question? Sorry.
So my second question is being the artist behind the pretty images that we see. What exactly was your inspiration behind it, and how did you find having to produce images for this book?
So as I mentioned, I got onto the team. I was like the last edition. I'm also the youngest. I just
Congratulations.
Yeah. So coming up with the illustrations for the book was actually really fun. There was an initial concept that we wanted to go for something, fun, something flowy, nothing too, But because it's our audience, we're aiming this towards ages 7 upwards. It was our audience that we were catering to. We had an initial idea of where we wanted the images to go, where we wanted it to look like. We wanted it to be very colorful, very free-flowing. It's a watercolor illustration book. So it was really fun to work with, like coming up with the concepts for the images. There were lots and lots of initial drafts that had to be approved by the group. They were like, oh my god, they were so helpful in the entire process, and it was just fun because getting the characters just made the character design, getting those designs just made the entire story flow so well. Because it was fun. Auntie Sue got her pink frock, and it was just coming up with it was all very fun.
Okay, that's great. So, Christine, we know in everything that we do, we'll face some challenges.
Yeah.
So what were some of the challenges you guys as a team faced, not only within, writing and getting the book together, but actually getting the book out there for persons to be able to read and enjoy?
Yeah, so all of us, we do have an environmental background, but we have never wrote a book. So initially we had all these concepts, so we're now writers, and we've write scientific papers, research paper, we haven't wrote a book. So I think that was a challenge of its own, like getting to that confidence level. Also, we were working remotely. For most of us, we haven't met as a team. All our meeting was virtually done, and I think a challenge of its own is navigating various communication styles. And as young people, we have so many different responsibilities. Some of us are in school, we work full time, there's other responsibility in terms of other groups that we're a part of. We have families and things like that. But one of the things that we were able to do was prioritize. Every Saturday we met for 6 months. We really devote to writing, editing, reaching out to persons for them to give us feedback, because we really wanted our characters to show, to be Guyanese as much as possible, to be a localized story as much as possible. There's also some Guyanese Creole that we wanted to ensure that we were portraying correctly. And I would like to say the success, we all became friends during the process. We fell in love with each other and the work. And I think all of us have this passion to get this work done. Again, we were doing this voluntarily. So I think the drive to get the product out there was something that led us through this process. Again, we did everything on our own to coming up with the layout of the book to marketing the book afterwards. So these are all things that we're learning as we go, because again, it's our first book and we never expected the outcome to be what it is. For us, we never expected to be on NCN and be talking to Ladonna and to be featured in newspaper and so forth. But we're so extremely grateful for everyone that's read the book and has given us comments and a congratulation. It means so much to us.
And we're very happy and thankful to actually have you guys a part of this show. Again, we do believe if you're making a change in your community, in the country at large, that is only fitting that we recognize the work that you have been doing. And I do believe this is a form of giving you encouragement to push through and to continue that work. And if you are also doing something like this within your community or anything that you do believe needs recognition, or anybody that you have interacted with and you do believe that they need recognition, you can definitely reach out to us at the Environmental Protection Agency. All our information can be found on the internet. You can find us on Facebook and on Instagram, and you can share that information with us and we can have a little chat about it and definitely be able to feature that person on the Environment Matters. So on that note, as we wrap up, I'd like to ask each one of you to tell us what is next for your organization and share something to inspire the young people that are listening, and even for the older persons, share something with them that can impact them to make changes in your life. So I'll start with you, Affefa.
Sure. So for GYN next, as I mentioned, we're big on education and awareness. So we will continue to engage via social media because we're able to reach a lot of audiences, a lot of persons from different age groups there. So we will continue to share content around climate change and the environment. We also want to try to get back into schools, interacting with children, whether virtually or small gatherings, depending on the restrictions and what's allowed, because we're still in a pandemic. But we do want to reach out back to children outside of the storybook alone. We do love that interaction with them and we do miss it. And we do have our signature events that we do every year. So for example, Earth Hour, Earth Day, Biodiversity Day, there's always some event or something happening. So follow us and stay updated. In terms of inspiration, I would say, I'd say just if you have an idea, don't sit on it too long. Find someone, find a team, find a friend, talk about it, and then just do it. I think a lot of us have bucket lists. I have bucket lists that I have had for years and might not have really actioned them. But I find having a friend, having a team member, having a partner really helps you to action it and really just take action.
Just go for it.
Yes, just go for it.
Yes. All right, Chris.
So in terms of inspiration, like feeding off of what Affefa said, really just go ahead and do it. Like as she said, find somebody who shares your interests and develop that. There's like so many organizations who are quite easily accessible today. You just reach out, you share your idea, and they will find a way to make it happen. And of course, like organizations must be receptive to those, ideas as well. In terms of the future for HTA, we definitely want to do more activities and events centric towards providing art education to Guyana. Education is important, of course, not only for the environment, but we also have to find means to do so, and art is one of those untapped means that we need to, explore more. So changing the perception of Guyanese and art, that's something that I personally plan to make my mission in the future.
Great. And Christine, I know the Breadfruit Collective is a very busy group.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. So the Breadfruit Collective, it's a collective, meaning that we welcome persons that have projects that deals with the environment and gender in any capacity, and we welcome that collective approach to doing work. And so moving forward, we have a number of public engagement. Although it's coming out to the end of the year, we still have a number of public things that we're involved in. And also like to encourage everyone that currently we are, the global community is celebrating the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And so the Breadfruit Collective has been amplifying those persons who are doing work, because we know that gender-based violence is such an important issue within Guyana and broadly within the Caribbean as well. So look out for more writing projects, and we definitely hope to collaborate in many different capacity. And I really, really like that collective approach to doing work, because I know the work is so much, and especially since we're all involved in so many things, I think we can achieve so much if we are, pooling resources and pooling ideas together. And with that, I think one advice, I think was the last question I would like to give, which is I agree with everything that Affefa and Chris mentioned. Definitely get in touch with a team. And I would also like to say that your ideas and the things that you want to do is important, and it is meaningful, and it's coming from a very important place. So don't second guess yourself. And the first thing we create, the first post, the first drawing, the first time we speak out about the project is never going to be perfect, but keep speaking out about it. And I think for young people, it's really important for us to unlearn certain practices that we've seen to be like leadership, to be communicative, be empathetic, and just be committed to the things that drive us and the passion that we have, because that's how the work is going to get done.
Most definitely. All right. So Chris, is there anything that you'd like to say in closing?
I mean, firstly, thank you so much for having us on. I mean, you have gender in the environment, you have art in the environment, and you have youth in the environment. So it's an amazing topic to keep on talking about. And of course, please take our advice. I'm not telling you, but it's just suggested. But please do take our advice into consideration, and find people who motivate you and drive you and push you into doing the things that stick to your morals and develop those morals. So yeah.
All right, so there you have it, everyone. We've been chatting with Christine, Chris, and Affefa on their new production, this lovely book called The Sprout and the Mystery of the Flood. This book is free and it's available on social media platforms under the Breadfruit Collective. You can find them on Facebook and on Instagram. If not, you can make contact with the Environmental Protection Agency, and we will be able to give you advice on how you can get access to this book. Again, congratulations to you and the team. We will take a quick break, and we will be right back to have a conversation with Miss Marissia Charles on the GEF Small Grants program actually, that is going to be unfold right here in Guyana. You'll definitely want to stay tuned to hear how you can get access to a grant to develop the environment through sustainable management and also influence through human health. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Do you have an environmental complaint? Then the Environmental Protection Agency wishes to advise that you can report an environmental complaint at the agency via one of the following. You can call our 24-hour hotline number at 225-5469, or you can drop us an email at complaints@epaguyana.org. Or you can message us on our Facebook page at EPA Guyana, or you can message us directly on Instagram at EPAGY. Please note, when submitting an environmental complaint, you would need to submit the following: name of complainant, that is the person who is making the complaint, the address of that person, a contact number, as well as the alleged polluter, a name for them, or a name of their business, their location, and the nature of the complaint. For further information, you can visit our agency's head office at Ganges Street, Sophia, or you can visit one of the regional offices to make your environmental complaint. You can visit our WIM office in the Quarantine or our Linden office in the Lynn Building, Mackenzie, Linden. Please note that all information collected from the public will be treated with the strictest confidence. However, complainants should be willing to attend court and testify should the matter require legal action.
At the Environmental Protection Agency, we believe that the environment is everybody's business. We can start caring for our planet by becoming more environmentally friendly in our everyday actions. Here's what you can do. Dispose of waste in a garbage bin. Clean our drains, yards, and carpets regularly. Take a reusable shopping bag to the market. Support local butchers and farmers to reduce packaged waste. Plant a kitchen garden, trees, and flowers. Compost your organic waste. Conserve water and electricity. Carry a reusable water bottle. These little acts are good for your health and that of the environment. Remember, healthy people work better and achieve more, and together, small actions make a big difference. For further information on how you can help, please contact the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Ganges Street, Sophia, or telephone us at 225-5467. You can also visit our website, epaguyana.org, or our Facebook and Instagram pages.
And welcome back to The Environment Matters. I am your moderator, Ladonna Kissoon. Again, season greetings to you and your family. So today we are talking about making a difference, rethinking our actions to restore the environment through education, empowerment, and enlightenment. And joining me for this second half in studio is Miss Marissia Charles. So welcome to our show, Miss Charles. I'd like to ask you to not only introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers, but to also tell us a little bit about the GEF Small Grants Programme.
Thank you, Ladonna, and thank you to the EPA for having myself representing the GEF Small Grants Programme in Guyana on the Environment Matters. We are happy to be here and to share, information about the program, about our work, about our upcoming work. So my name is Marissia Charles. I am the National Coordinator of the Global Environment Facility Small Grants Program in Guyana. Acronym abbreviation GEF SGP. That's a very long name. And what basically is the GEF SGP? Now, as we may know, the GEF, it was established 30 years ago and is basically established to tackle the planet's most pressing environmental matters. Now, the Small Grants Program is a corporate program of the GEF. So the SGP basically is the essence. It embodies sustainable development through our motto of thinking globally but acting locally. So what we do basically is to provide that support to government and provide that support to countries to achieve environmental sustainability, environment conservation, protection of human health as it's tied to the environment through grassroots work. So we basically work with grassroots organizations in order to address the environmental issues in the world.
Okay, you guys seem to be doing a lot.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that you are very busy throughout the year, which is definitely a good thing. So given the fact that we have a little bit in terms of background on what the GEF SGP is, what exactly are your mainline goals or objectives for the Small Grants Program?
Now, the Small Grants Program is basically, I would say, like the founding principles is that the program is innovative, it's impactful, and it looks at social inclusion. Innovative in the sense that it's an incubator for innovative solutions for the world environmental problem. It's inclusion in the sense that social inclusion is very important to us, and in order to maximize environmental benefit to marginalized and vulnerable populations, including women, youth, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and also to empower them and impact in the sense that our program is strategic and it creates a strategic and evidence-based platform for community-based actions in that all those projects that we implement, one, it should be sustainable, two, it should synergize with ongoing efforts, and three, should be able to scale up. In that way, we have a greater impact in the projects that we fund and implemented in the country. So basically the goal of SGP, it's around those principles, but what we do is we provide funding to civil society organizations to design and implement projects that bring about environmental and livelihood benefits to communities. Now, we also look to reduce poverty. We look to create community empowerment and generate sustainable livelihoods in all our projects and in all the work we do at the national level and at the international level.
All right, so let's look at it from a national perspective. What are some of the types of projects that the GEF SGP has been involved with? You did make mention of community development and civil society work. So, for our viewers and listeners, what are some of the projects that GEF would partner with to execute?
So generally, the SGP, as I mentioned earlier, is a corporate program of the GEF. Now, our projects are implemented, or we fund projects under 6 thematic areas. Those are the thematic areas of the GEF. And those areas, of course, are all environmental based. So those areas are biodiversity, climate change, land degradation, sustainable forest management, chemicals and waste, and international waters. So we fund projects that align with those areas. But more importantly, SGP, we seek, as mentioned earlier, we seek to ensure that even though these projects align with these 6 thematic areas, the projects have an empowerment component, a community stewardship component, a capacity building component, and social inclusion and sustainability component in those projects.
All right, so with all that work, I know you guys would definitely have had a lot of success stories. So would you like to share some of those accomplishments of the GEF Small Grants Project? And I know you would also have some challenges, so let's talk about those too.
Yes, so firstly, I want to give just a little background of it internationally. So internationally, we were able to provide funding of a total of US 685 million across all the GEF SGP countries. So we are working in 127 countries, including 31 small island development states and 41 least development countries, right? So that is internationally 685 million US. We would have supported 19,000 projects and also supported 25,000 projects and 19,000 civil society organizations to implement those projects. Now, to bring it home, in Guyana, GEF SGP has been in operation since 2013. And since then to now, we would have implemented 24 projects at a total of more than US 942,000. We were also able to have some co-financing support, and that is cash in kind of a total of 925,000 US dollars. And our projects implemented in Guyana, we were able to implement projects in 7 of the 10 administrative regions, and that is region 1 to 6 and region 9. So for example, one of the projects that we worked with Irkramo, we had a project in 2015. This project was basically a multifocal area project. So it cross-cut more than one of the 6 thematic areas of the GEF SGP. And it was a total of US $45,000. And the beneficiaries were 5,000 adults and 437 students. So the project looked at basically supporting the capacity building of conservation leaders for management and monitoring of integrated ecosystems in the North Rupununi wetland as well as the Irkramo Forest Reserve. And basically the 3 objectives of the project were the main activities. They look at mentoring 2 community leaders in leadership and project management through learning by doing. They looked at implementing an awareness program, an environmental awareness program for 500 students in 16 schools and environmental clubs in the North Rupununi. And they also look at building capacity of the local community leaders in 6 Amerindian communities. That's one of the projects. We had a project with Guyanese Women in Development. Actually, had a 2-phase project. The first phase was in 2014. The second was commenced in 2020. That project is still ongoing. The first phase was 50,000 US dollars. The second phase, 50,000 US dollars as well. And that project is basically at mangrove restoration as an activity for climate change abatement. So we funded basically the restoration of, in total, 1 kilometer of mangrove from Columbia to Aberdeen in Region 2. So that is some of the success we have. Challenges, I would say that GEF SGP, we work with, of course, under the umbrella of the GEF. So co-financing is big for us. We work with the partners, but we also want it to be a more multi-stakeholder approach. We want it to be participatory. We want it to be inclusive in our work. So we tend to partner with other partners in government, in civil society, in the private sector through co-financing support. Now, the GEF SGP, we only provide funding to civil society organizations. We do not provide funding to government, or we don't provide funding to private sector, but they can work with the program through co-financing support. So for us, I think we need to have some more work. Most of the co-financing that we would have received since 2030, the majority is in kind, of which we appreciate technical capacity building, support in project proposal writing and so forth. But the cash also goes a far way. So I say one of the challenges we have that we're working on, we're hoping to have more, is more co-financing support, cash, and more committed partnerships at the SGP portfolio level, as well as the project level. I think that, over the years, even though we've done a lot of work, we need to work on our visibility and awareness. We need to, put some effort into increasing visibility and awareness. And, we're quite excited that this is at the ending of 2021. We're entering 2022 with a bang on this program to just let the public know in Guyana at large about the SGP program. So I think that is also that is also a challenge for us.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations on all that you would have accomplished over the many years. It's really good to know the backstory behind a lot of the projects that we see unfolding in different organizations. And, for our listeners and viewers out there, if you're interested in being involved as a partner, not only to just lend assistance through capacity building, but also if you would like to fund, a project, to make contact with the GEF Small Grants Program and see how you can be involved. So with all that you have been talking about with regards to environmental sustainability and, working to curb a lot of practices that not only harm the environment, but also taking into consideration human health. How exactly does the GEF Small Grants Program tie in with the Sustainable Development Goals that is expected to, be reached or executed by 2030?
Thanks for that question, Ladonna. It's a really good question, actually, because, sometimes we fail to realize that all of our efforts individually at the micro level is us working collectively to achieve the goals at the macro level. So the SGP, the program is implemented by United Nations Development Program, and it's executed by United Nations Office for Project Services. Now, the program in country, it's country driven and decentralized. So even though we have the global SGP, how the program is implemented is driven by a country strategy. That country strategy is known as the country program strategy. And basically our strategy, the strategy in country, it aligns with the national agenda of the government. What are the government's environmental agenda? We look at that. We see what the government is doing and we try to support those efforts, not, reinventing the wheel or duplicating efforts. We look at what UNDP are also doing and we also try to support and complement those efforts. So as it relates to the SDG, generally our program aligns in the achievement of the SDG from the bottom-up grassroots level, since that is where our work is, working with stakeholders there. So directly, like for instance, one of the key components of our program is social inclusion, gender mainstreaming. And that helps with the achievement of SDG 5, which speaks to achieving gender equality and empowering women and girls. As mentioned, women and girls are part of our key target group in the SGP. Our thematic areas align with climate change, SDG 12, it aligns with the SDG 14 that deals with biodiversity, land degradation. We look at also water and sanitation. So basically, our efforts help Guyana as a country to achieve the SDG. It helps from that bottom up, support and approach in achieving the SDG of the community, individual, household level.
All right. So with the need or force to ensure that all of this is achieved by 2030. What are some of the initiatives that the GEF SGP has embarked on, to allow for access and support for projects?
Okay, thank you again. That's a really good question. So, as mentioned, our program is basically structured from a country program strategy. Now, the country program strategy is guided, of course, by the six thematic areas of GEF. But under each operational phase, now, what is an operational phase? Similarly, like to a country or to a program, there's a fiscal year or budget. So for SGP, we run it by an operational phase, which is oftentimes 2 to 3 years. When Guyana came into the program, we entered the program in operational phase 5, operational phase 6 thereafter, and now operational phase 7 globally commenced last year. But in Guyana, we're going to launch that later this month. So under the operational phase, we have specific strategic initiatives that we look to implement projects under those initiatives. So for operational phase 7, we have things like sustainable agriculture and fisheries, including food security. We have community-based community action against threatened ecosystems and species. We have local to global coalitions on chemicals and waste management. We have climate change. So under these areas, we look to fund projects that address that align with those strategic initiatives. For example, the strategic initiative on global to local coalitions on chemicals and waste management. What are we looking to fund projects on? Projects that looked at an alternative to plastic. Projects that look at an alternative to chemical use in agriculture. Projects that look like an alternative to mercury use in the artisanal small-scale gold mining. Those types of projects under threatened ecosystems, projects that mainstream biodiversity in all sectors, projects that look to conserve and protect threatened ecosystems in certain national, like in Guyana, it would be like in the national protected areas and so forth. So those are some of the initiatives we're looking at for operational phase 7, that we're looking to fund projects in those areas.
All right. So for persons who have an interest in a project of that nature, how exactly can they access support and funding from you, and what would be some of those requirements? Because obviously they're going to have to reach, certain requirements by GEF Small Grants Program. So how can they access it, and what are some of those requirements?
Okay, so basically, under each operational phase, a country is allocated a certain amount of money to implement projects. So on the OP5, Guyana, we were allocated $750,000. On the OP6, we were allocated $400,000. On the OP7, which will be launched, our earmarked allocation is $500,000. Now, our grant, as mentioned, is only available to civil society organizations, but private sector and government can support through co-financing. So civil society organizations include non-governmental organizations, community-based organizations, faith-based groups, women groups, youth groups, indigenous groups, academia, scientific institutions. Those organizations, those groups are able to, access funding from SGP to implement a project under the 6 thematic areas. Now, in order to be eligible, the group has to be registered. Now, in Guyana, that is simple as a registration to the Friendly Societies Act. Now, the group can be incorporated, but the minimum requirement is to be registered. That's one. 2, if the group is applying from an Amerindian village or an Amerindian community, it has to apply through the village council. Free prior informed consent is important to us. That is something we take very seriously, and we want to ensure that all stakeholders in Amerindian villages are a part, as well as the community endorses this project. So the NGO also needs to have some experience in project management, project implementation, especially with donor funds. But I must say there, the caveat here though, we always encourage new NGOs. So we have different agreement frameworks that we can, enter it with NGOs. So if there's an NGO that is new upcoming, of course they might not have the experience of working with donor funds. So that NGO can then still access the fund, but we have this agreement known as an intermediary memorandum of agreement, in which the NGO will then work through an established seasoned NGO to implement the project. in that scenario, that NGO, that new NGO, builds their capacity in project implementation, and we're also able to reach that other group of stakeholder. So that is also, so please, no deterrent here in new groups in applying for funding. We have frameworks that we're still able to support you in applying for funding. So the process is pretty simple. Once, as I mentioned, we're hoping to launch the operational phase 7 in Guyana before the end of December. Then we'll have a call for project concepts. The project concept form, there's a template. You can reach out to me directly, or it will be on UNDP's website where you can download it. You complete that concept note, it's then sent to us, and it's reviewed by a national steering committee. Now, SGP, as mentioned, is decentralized and country-driven. All projects in country, it's approved by a national steering committee. That group is made up of members from government, civil society, the private sector that are working independently on a voluntary basis. They review and appraise project. That is the main decision body of the SGP. So once the NSC sees your project proposal, they review it. And, if they have comments, we would work with you to improve that. And then once it's approved, we then invite you to submit a full project proposal. Then again, the project proposal is reviewed, appraised. Once approved, then we enter the memorandum of agreement, and then the project officially commences and funds are dispersed.
All right. So thank you so much. So you made mention with regards to government agencies and private sectors getting on board from time to time. So who are some of the government and also non-governmental agencies that the GEF Small Grants Program partners with?
Internationally, we've had support from Japan Biodiversity Fund, Caribbean Biodiversity Fund. We had support from the German Ministry of Environment, Australia Aid. Nationally, we've had projects that got co-financing support from NARI, the National Agricultural Research Extension Institute. We had from Conservation International. We've had Basic Needs Trust Fund. We had some in the regions, Regional Development Council. Yes, so some of those are some agencies and organizations that would worked with us over the years. But going forward now, we like to have greater collaboration, and I'm happy to say that we've gotten commitment from the Ministry of Natural Resources to work with us through technical supports and capacity building. We've gotten commitment from the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as the Guyana Energy Agency and the Environmental Protection Agency to work with SGP at both the portfolio and the project level for operational phase 7. So we're pretty excited about that. And for me, that is something that we all should celebrate, in the sense that we're all working together as a country to have the environmental sustainability, human health protection, environmental protection in country, led by Guyanese, for Guyanese. So that is something that I'm really excited about, to have the government agencies and other sector on board as we go into operational phase 7.
And we at the EPA are also excited to be a part of this venture and activity. And on that note, as we close our discussion, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners and viewers on the GEF Small Grants Program?
Yes, so thank you for that, Ladonna. For me, I think oftentimes, like mentioned, we tend to not realize the importance role we play in the environment, the importance role we play in the development of Guyana, and how the environment is intricately linked to the development of Guyana. We have to protect what we depend on for our life, our livelihoods, for food, meals, everything. So I would say that, GEF SGP is that platform that we work with the people on the ground, the people who oftentimes have the answers to their own environmental problems trapped inside their minds. They have this idea, but they don't know how to, put it on paper. We're here to provide support through, our different grant systems. We can provide that support to you. And I would implore you to know, when we have the operational phase 7 launch, to apply. Do something in your community, bring groups together, form a group, get a group registered. You have that idea, we can then work with you. We'll have other stakeholders that will work with you to implement that project, to bring about that livelihood and environmental benefits to all groups in the community. So I'm looking forward to OP7. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to receiving all the concepts. I'm looking forward to working with the, new stakeholders, old stakeholders, and, as we work towards achieving the SDGs, local level, at the national level, at the international level, as we work towards achieving the national agenda of Guyana and, our commitments under the multilateral environmental agreements.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Charles, for being here with us on The Environment Matters. And thank you so much for tuning in for this month's edition. I do hope that you have been inspired not only to apply for a grant as part of a civil society or a religious organization, but also to go and check on The Sprouts and the Mystery of the Flood, which is a new book launched by a group of environmental enthusiasts. So you should definitely be the change you want to see and inspire somebody else, so that we can all work together to protect the earth. If you are someone is making a difference in the environment, please feel free to contact the EPA so that we can, interact with you and see what it is that you are doing to make that positive change, not only to just educate our listeners and our viewers on what you're doing, but to also assist you in whichever way we possibly can. So this program will be broadcasted on NCN and on Networks Channel 1. Kindly remember to visit the agency's Facebook and Instagram pages for any other details on our guests and our broadcast dates and time. You can contact us at the Environmental Protection Agency on 225-5467 or 225-5471 to 72. You can email us or visit us at Ganges Street Sophia or at our WIM office in Carrington Berbies or our Linden office in the Len building at Mackenzie. Thank you so much, Guyana, for staying tuned with us throughout the year 2021. We bid you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2022. Until next time, stay